for the first 30 seconds. Imagine discovering a forgotten Legend of Zelda game that was fully planned, partially built, mysteriously cancelled, and then buried so deep in Nintendo's vaults that even hardcore fans argue about whether it truly existed, a game that could have changed the entire timeline of Hyrule, Link's destiny, and completely altered how we see one of the most legendary franchises in gaming history. Because in this video, you are about to uncover the strange clues, leaked concepts, abandoned mechanics, and bizarre development decisions behind the lost Zelda game Nintendo never released, why it vanished, what made it so controversial, and how its ghost still haunts modern Zelda games in ways most players never notice. So stay until the end, because the truth is far more surprising, funny, and intriguing than any official Nintendo explanation. The Legend of Zelda is famous for magic swords, heroic silence, epic dungeons, and timelines so confusing they make time travel look like basic math. But hidden beneath decades of cartridges, discs, and downloads lies a game that was never meant to see the light of day. Like Zelda Project whispered about in interviews, hinted at in concept art, and quietly erased from official history as if it never existed at all. This lost Zelda game was not just another sequel or spin-off, but a bold experiment that pushed the series in directions so strange and risky that Nintendo, the company known for polishing ideas until they shine, decided it was safer to pretend it never happened. What makes the story even more fascinating is that Nintendo almost never abandons ideas completely. Because unused mechanics usually resurface later wearing a different costume, but this time, something went very wrong. During the development chaos between Majora, Zelda releases, Nintendo experimented with a version of Hyrule that was darker, weirder, and surprisingly comedic in all the wrong ways, blending unsettling themes, strange character designs, and gameplay systems that clashed hard with what fans expected from a Zelda adventure. Internally, developers described it as ambitious, experimental, and completely unhinged, which in Nintendo language is basically a polite way of saying someone spilled a potion into the Master Sword Forge. This lost game reportedly focused on a version of Link who is not a heroic chosen one, but a confused traveler trapped in a collapsing Hyrule where time loops failed. NPCs remembered previous timelines, and familiar characters behaved in hilariously unsettling ways, smiling while delivering ominous warnings and casually acknowledging that reality itself was broken. Instead of epic destiny, the story leaned into absurdity, dark humor, and existential confusion, making players question whether they were saving the world or just delaying its inevitable collapse. Imagine a Zelda game where even the chickens know too much and stare at you like they have seen the end of time. Gameplay experiments pushed things even further, introducing mechanics that allowed Link to fail permanently in certain areas, locking content forever and altering the world in irreversible ways, something that terrified Nintendo testers who realized players could accidentally ruin entire questlines without even knowing it. While modern games love permanent consequences, this idea clashed hard with Nintendo's philosophy of accessibility, especially in a franchise known for inviting players of all ages into its worlds. The result was a game that felt brilliant to some developers and completely unacceptable to others, sparking internal debates that ultimately sealed its fate. The visuals also raised eyebrows, because the art style combined exaggerated cartoon expressions with unsettling environmental details, creating a tone that felt both silly and disturbing at the same time. Characters smiled too wide, shadows lingered too long, and familiar Zelda locations looked slightly wrong. Like a dream you recognize, but cannot fully understand. Some artists loved it because it felt bold and expressive, while others argued it made Hyrule look like it needed therapy rather than saving. As development dragged on, Nintendo faced a difficult decision. Because the game technically worked, but emotionally, it did not fit the brand they had spent decades carefully shaping. Zelda was supposed to be mysterious, adventurous, and timeless, not confusing, unsettling, and accidentally hilarious in the wrong moments. Test audiences reportedly laughed during scenes meant to feel epic and felt uneasy during moments meant to be funny, which is basically the opposite of what you want when crafting a legendary adventure. Eventually, Nintendo pulled the plug, quietly canceling the project and redistributing its ideas into other games, where they could be safely diluted, polished, and disguised. Elements of broken timelines appeared later in Majora's Mask, darker tones resurfaced in Twilight Princess, and experimental freedom evolved into Breath of the Wild. But the original lost game itself was never released, never announced. and never officially acknowledged beyond vague comments from developers who spoke carefully, as if afraid the game might hear them. What makes this story so intriguing and funny is how Nintendo fans, armed with curiosity and way too much free time, pieced together the mystery using scraps of interviews, unused assets, and suspicious similarities between later games. The result is a community-driven legend, where theories clash, evidence overlaps, and everyone agrees on one thing: that Nintendo absolutely does not want to talk about it. The Lost Zelda game became a kind of inside joke among fans, a mythical cartridge that exists somewhere between fact and fantasy, much like Hyrule itself. And perhaps that is the most Zelda thing of all, because a series built on legends, myths, and forgotten histories now has a legend of its own, a canceled chapter that never officially happened but still influences everything that came after. The idea that somewhere in Nintendo's archives there is a version of Hyrule too strange, too risky, and too honest to release feels oddly poetic, like a secret dungeon locked forever behind a wall no bomb can break. In the end, the Lost Zelda game, Nintendo never released, reminds us that even legendary franchises are shaped by failure, fear, and experimentation gone wrong. And that sometimes the most fascinating stories are not the ones we play, but the ones we are never allowed to see. If this hidden chapter had been released, Zelda might look very different today. Or maybe it would have been remembered as the weirdest entry in the series, but either way, its absence became part of the legend. If you enjoyed uncovering this strange, funny, and intriguing mystery hidden within gaming history, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more legendary stories. Leave a comment sharing your favorite Zelda theory or forgotten game rumor, and share this video with fellow fans so the legend of the Lost Zelda game continues to live on.